The new Flat Rate Podcast. The new Flat Rate! For contractors ready to boost tickets, simplify business, and gain freedom. Today, we sat down with Mike Abramowitz, the owner of Better Than Rich. Mike's the son of a lifelong plumber and has built what most owners only dream of, a business that runs without him. Even after stepping out of the day-to-day for 8 months while his son was in the NICU, his company still hit 7 figures. Now, through his Time Rich 6 framework and his 30-plus person plug-in team, he helps contractors buy back their time and scale without burnout. And now, your host, me, Natalie Coe, and your co-host, Danielle Putnam.
So Mike and I met the other day. We got introduced by a mutual friend, and Mike, as the owner of Better Than Rich, actually has a very interesting story on how he began. And so he was just talking to Natalie and I before we hit record a minute ago about how his firstborn son was in the NICU for 8 months. And that is so overwhelming, especially as a parent, like so overwhelming. But he was also a business owner. And the pull that he was experiencing from family and business could have been horrific, but he was successfully able to run his business absentee for those 8 months to be there for his family. And it was very successful, doing over 7 figures. So by all means, Mike, tell us more.
Thanks so much, Natalie. Thank you for hosting, and Danielle, thanks for having me on the show. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's hard enough running a business. Nevertheless, having to be absent from the business, or choosing to be, I should say. I'd like to just take a step back real quick and just help the listener understand like why I chose to do that and how that all unfolded. My dad owns a plumbing business. He's owned a plumbing business my entire life. He's 84 years old. He's been running it for almost 50 years. So I witnessed my dad work hard my entire life. A lot of ambition, a lot of drive, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings. He drove from Matawan to Trenton, New Jersey. It's an hour drive every single day, 6 days a week. And I love that about my dad. I also would have loved my dad to be a part of my life a little bit more, like being a part of basketball games and whatnot. I always saw him on the phone, answering every phone call. So when I left for college to go study engineering, I moved from New Jersey to Florida. I started selling Cutco kitchen knives to pay my way through school. So I started selling Cutco, and then I fell in love with personal growth, self-development, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 1 Minute Manager, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, and just learned leadership and personal growth and sales. It's like, wow. So there's other ways of doing business. I thought there was only one way: grind, work hard. So I bought my first house when I was 20. I had 3 rental properties before I graduated college. I graduated college. I was like, I'm going to retire at 40. I'm going to be a present father. I'm going to be home every day for dinner. And I'm going to, do opposite of my dad. The challenge was then the market collapsed, 2008. I lost my houses. I was negative $130,000 in debt. I had a 400 credit score. I was near bankrupt. So now I went to exactly what I knew, which is how to grind, how to work, and how to do what my dad did. So I just worked my tail off 60, 70, 80-hour weeks just to try to climb out of the hole that I was now buried in. I call it the valley of my 20s. We fast forward 2016, I fall in love with my now wife. I hire a business coach. His name is Andrew. He helped me corporatize my small business. So he had an experience in India scaling a company from $6 million to $30 million with a team of 1,400 people underneath him. And he came back to the States to teach small business owners how to corporatize their small business. I was a student and client. So he showed me how to build in predictability and systems and automations and, bring in offshore virtual assistants and just things that were taboo in the direct sales business. We fast forward to COVID, everything goes virtual. I put these systems so I could work from home and be more present with my kids, my future kids, my wife. And then we crushed it. I mean, everything was virtual. We were doing Zoom meetings. Everything was like in person, and we made everything like virtual. It was amazing. At the end of 2020 though, that's when my son was born, to come back to the story. December 31st, so New Year's Eve of 2020, he was born at 1 pound, 4 ounces. He was due in April, was born on New Year's Eve. He was 26 weeks, 1 pound, 4 ounces, and we did not know how long we were going to be in the NICU with him. So I just told my team, I had my staff, I had my team. I said, you guys are going to run it. We have all of our processes documented. We have all the systems in place. I McDonaldified my entire business so it could run without me, and it did. And I was in the NICU with my son for 8.5 months, 254 days. And that team ran the business. We still recruited our team. We still provided sales and clients. We did over 7 figures in sales. And when I got out of the NICU on September 10th of 2021, I called my coach, Andrew, and I said, do you think we could teach other business owners how to do what you taught me how to do? Because my wife is now a full-time medical mom and I need to replace her income. Do you think we could do something here and help other people in the process? He said, let's find out. And that was the birthplace of Better Than Rich. So we've now helped around 280 to 290 small business owners corporatize and build business predictability and systems inside their small businesses to help the owners buy back time, not so they could be in the NICU for 8.5 months, but so that way they could spend the time what matters most. They don't have to like take their cell phone on vacation with them, or they could be home for dinner at 6 p.m. if they wanted to. They could have no calls on a weekend, right? Whatever is important to them, while not compromising the revenue and the upside growth. So James is now great. He's 4.5 years old. He was on a ventilator for 2 years. He had a trach, and now he's fantastic. He's in school. He's running around. He's awesome. And he's a little sister, Ella, who's 18 months. And we've now completed our family. I'll be 40 this month of June. And now just been on this mission of just pretty much helping guys like my dad be able to be a little bit more present with their families and take some of my lived experiences and try to take my 20 years of sales and business and my business partner's 20 years of corporate business and just helping these blue collar workers just build some white collar systems so they could have predictability and buyback time. So that's the very long, short version of the story.
So, what inspired the Time Rich Six? And was there a personal burnout moment that led to it?
So the time rich, I didn't know exactly what helped me build business predictability. I took a few months off after Ella was born. I took so we could call it paternity leave. So I took about 3 months off in December of 2023 until about February of 2024, and I took those 90 days just to take a step back and reevaluate what do I really want to contribute to the marketplace and how. So before that, we had like courses, we were doing coaching programs, we had a virtual assistant services, like an agency where we would plug in just doing administrative work. So we had all these like products, but it was still not solving the problem. So I took those 90 days. I said, what is really going to solve the problem of create predictability for these businesses. So I narrowed it down to these 6 things that I did for my business. I didn't know that these were the 6, but that's what it turned out to be. Those 6 items are now what we install into business owners' businesses, and that's the Time Rich 6. And I'll go through those real quick, and then we could park and land in whatever direction you see fit. But it's these 6 items to create business predictability for an owner to buy back time and increase revenue. Number 1 is boundaries. Boundaries meaning protecting our priorities. So the owner just has to figure out what are their priorities that they want to protect and build the business around that, because the business is a vehicle for their life. It's not their life. It's a vehicle for their life. And we have to figure out what are the priorities. Underneath that is number 2, which is communication guidelines. So now once we have clear priorities of what we want to build the business to protect, then we want to figure out how do we want people to get your attention? What deems an email versus a phone call versus a text message versus an in-person meeting? And just get really clear of what are the guidelines for prospects or clients or your team. How do we want those people to get your attention? Then we go into number 3, which is systems. Systems are just if-then processes. If-then processes. If this happens, then that happens. Think of it like a flow chart. And if anybody's listening to this, here's flow charts are like really corporate-y, I would be happy to build that for you for free. You just hop on my calendar. I'll build a flow chart for you. It's a simple process. You could go to betterthanrich.com/GSD. We'll, stands for get shit done, but we'll get that done and build a flow chart for you and build the system. No problem. But it's just a flow chart. And you think about a client journey, there's like marketing, and it passes the hand to sales and then sales to fulfillment. And it's just like that flow chart and building a system there. I'll stop there for a moment before we go into the next 3, but that's the first 3 of the Time Rich 6: boundaries, communication guidelines, and then systems.
Well, with the flow chart, I know as a business owner, so many times flow charting could be easy for some of us. We just grab a piece of paper and we kind of flow chart it, or we have it in our head. But then there's a piece of it that we get stuck in. And so what Mike is offering is fantastic. So please do take him up on that. He will help map that out for you for free. It is so great to have an elevated other person, like thinking through and elevated out of the weeds, thinking through what you need. And I know so many times, I've asked people, I'm like, here's what I'm trying to fix, and here's kind of the start of the flow, and here's where I'm stuck. What should I do? And then they'll ask questions, but to have somebody that actually knows how to make that flow work great in your business, take Mike up on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Daniel. I did this for Molly and Jeff Voth. They're in Tampa. They run Elegant Accents, landscape lighting company, and they were doing a couple 100,000. Last year, they did almost 2 million. We've been working with them. They just renewed for the third year with us. And one of the things we did in their flow chart was after the point of sale. And
Mhm.
this was the flow that they're like, how do we get back in their homes and offer them a more value? How do we help us increase ratings and reviews and referrals and maximize the lifetime value of a client? So we just built a flow of after the point of sale till the 11-month maintenance visit. What
Mhm.
is the flow of getting back into the home at 11 months before the 1 year labor warranty is over? So we just built out all the check boxes. So after the install, the technician does the walk around of the property. How was your experience? And then what happens after that? Then it's sending them an email and a text message 1 week later with checking in. How's your service still? Here's a link to give us a review. And then 30 days after that, sending them another email saying, thank you so much for your service. If you have any introductions. And then 30 days after that, giving some sort of value add. Hey, here's some reminders. Here's some maintenance things to consider. And then 60 days and then 90 days. And then reversing it back. So from then 11 months, it's like 60 days before the 11th month. Then it's preparing them for their maintenance visit, 30 days before the maintenance visit, 1 week before the maintenance visit. And then it's seating. By the way, your warranty, here's information about your warranty. It expires and after the 130 more days. Here's how you could buy a maintenance plan so you don't have to worry about this in the future. We'll come back every 2 times a year, whatever. Just by building that flow and that system, they got back into 192 homes. Previously, they got into about 15 homes. They got the previous year, 2023, we did it for 9 months. They got back into
Wow.
192 homes. And on those 192 home visits, they created over 6 figures in new sales
That's
just by
big.
getting back into the homes because we built out the flow of what do we want the client experience to be like? And then how do we plug in team and tech in order to execute what that flow is? So the flow, to your point, is yeah, it's the 10,000 foot view, but then it's like, that's where the next part of the Timebird 6 comes into play, which is number 4, which is playbooks. What are the SOPs? What are the processes, the procedures, the documentation of each part of those boxes in the flow? And then number 5 is the team. Who's executing those plays? And then number 6 is the technology. What technology are we using to execute those plays? How does AI plug in, or CRMs, or project management softwares, or field service management softwares like Service Titan Job or House Call Pro? How do we put in like the new flat rate for the sales processes as a technology tool? Like what are the technology tools that the team is using to execute the plays that we created that are a part of that system that we built in that flow chart? So that's the Timebridge 6: boundaries, communication, guidelines, and then systems, playbooks, team, and tech. Those are the 6 things that help me buy back time from my business and help the business run without me for those 8.5 months and still do 7 figures in sales. And now we're helping other business owners do the same.
You know what? I think we could cross out the word here, Mike, of follow-up, because in service businesses, so it can be home services, it can be heating, air, plumbing, it can be landscaping, it could also be hair salons and massage therapists. So service businesses, right? It could be chiropractors. So to me, the number one lack and reason that they aren't growing is because of their lack of follow-up. And it's not, hey, your roots are growing out. Come back and get your appointment, right? Nobody follows up. Nobody. I our photographer, who we love, is really talented here in town. But when my first baby, I got 4. I got 4, right? Got is improper English, so whatever, forgive me. But I have 4 wonderful children. But when the first one was born, and I'm like, hey, can we have newborn shots? Do you think that he said afterwards, hey, it's 6 months, you ready for a 6 month? Hey, it's 12 months, you ready for a 12 month? Hey, it's 18 months, you ready for it? Never once did he follow up and ask for those, right? And so I would have been a customer for life. All those milestone pictures, plus I had 4. So all the other ones, and then the families, and then the holiday pictures. So the lost opportunity, service companies of all kinds spend so much effort going after new business when you just proved that the time rich six, I want to use that instead of the word follow up. Like it's instead of the word follow up, the time rich six just massively increased their business, increased their retention with their customers, their revenue. And it's such a great example, and you've proven it. But we say, well, follow up. I know to follow up. Oh, our company's good at follow up. No, if you're not doing the time rich six, you suck at follow up because you just did a whole workflow for it that we can't just say anymore, oh, let's just make sure that we follow up with our prospects. Let's make sure we follow up with our customers. It's not a one time, it's a whole system, it's a whole customer journey, and you're mapping it out for us. It's so important.
So you say most entrepreneurs don't have a business, they own a job. How do you help them break out of that?
There's a control issue that a lot of business owners have. So we come back to number one in the timer six. It's like your business is a vehicle for your life. So what are your priorities? I mean, some of these guys that go into the business, or girls that go into the business, saying like, I want freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, financial time and money, location freedom. So it's like, great, if that's what I want, that's why I'm going to the business. And then as they get into the business, they just have a glorified job because the business continues to only operate as the owner is inside the business. The moment the owner leaves the business doesn't run. So therefore, they're still exchanging time for money. And they just have a glorified job. They're high paid in most cases, but it's also high stress. So what I say to them is, that's why I love Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell. It's a really great playbook because he says 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome. So delegation is one of the keys that I want to encourage business owners and entrepreneurs to understand. Delegation is different than dumping. Dumping is, here's what I need done, go do it. I hope you do it right. And then you find out that they didn't do it right because they actually weren't trained. Swap out delegation for teaching. It's just like, or parenting or whatever you want to call it. It's like making sure they know how to do it. So the delegating piece is, you watch me do it. I do it, you watch, and then you do it and I watch. And then we discuss what were the differences? What was the same? What did you like? What did you not like? Great. Now you watch me do it again with that in mind. And then I watch you do it again. And then we have a discussion. And every time I do it, we record it. That's what Dan Martell calls the camcorder method. Let's record me doing it. So now you can go back and, just like a sports team will go watch footage and watch clips and film. That's what we want our new talent to go do, to see what done right looks like. This is my process. If it's the guy that's running a plumbing company, this is how we install a hot water heater at A to Z Plumbing. This is what it looks like. This is what we wear. This is what time we show up. This is how we present the price. And it's all documented. You watch me do that. Good. Now I'm going to watch you do it for the next customer. I'm right there. Kind of like what you're doing right now, Natalie and Danielle. It's like, watch me, I'm watching you. And then we're going to probably watch this recording and go back and say, hey, what did you think about that question you asked? What could you have done differently? What might have you done the same, right? That's delegation. So we did this with Andrea Bryant. Andrea runs a home staging company in Tampa. She's a really good friend of mine. We're Tony Robbins people. I don't know if you're a Tony Robbins person, but I'm a 7-time fire walker. So I traveled the country with Tony, and I was on his crew, and I've been to LA and New Jersey and Miami. And so it's really cool. So Andrea's a good friend of mine, and she was a teacher for 25 years and decided, she's like, I'm going to go own a business. So she went into a home staging company. She's like, I love real estate. I'm going to stage these homes. Her first year, she did 6 figures. It was amazing, but she was legitimately working like 80 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like insane. So she reached out to me. She knew I understood business. So I started helping her a little bit, just here and there. And then she hired me. She's like, no, I don't want just your help. Like, I want you in the business with me. So this idea of delegation, she was still lifting couches and like moving furniture. She's like in her 40s, late 40s, and lifting furniture. I'm like, no. And she's managing the warehouse, and she's also answering phone calls. And then she's also sending invoices through email. She was literally doing it all. So I said, okay, same thing we did with Molly. Let's build out that flow chart. What do we want the user experience for your client to look like? But what do we want the user experience for your team members to look like? So we went through every department in the business. So we went through like the fulfillment department, meaning like the delivery for putting the furniture in the home. What do those people need to be trained on? Let's talk about what is the interview process? What are the expectations we need to establish in the interview? And then when we're training them, how do they know what those expectations are? Is their experience meeting those expectations? What are the standards? What is the vision, the mission, the values that your company has? How do they know that they're doing a good job versus not a good job? What is the meeting cadence to follow up with them and looking at the KPIs and the most important metrics that you look at? And for her, it was how much time it would spend in between loading and unloading and drive time between jobs, because they were like stopping for lunch and grabbing gas and grabbing sodas, and like they were just like, no, because they were paid by the hour, so it didn't matter how long things took. So we just figured out what those KPIs are in the flow. Then we built out SOPs or playbooks to say this is the documentation of exactly what done right looks like. Then she hired these people, the team, to plug in to execute those plays. We put in some CRM, like Go High Level, for follow-ups, and a project management software to like keep them accountable. She's not tech savvy, so we had some Google Sheets in there. That's her time rich 6.
Mhm.
She the long There's a very long version of the story, but the whole point is 4 years, total 4 years from starting her business till now, she's 4x'd her revenue in the business. She's working less than this last year was less than 30 hours a week. She took 2 girls trips and 2 10-day trips with her son Chase. She's now has 2 offers on her business for 2 people to buy her company from her, so
Oh,
she can go and do investing or whatever else she wants to do. And she never would have thought that this was possible a couple years ago when she was working 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, lifting furniture herself. So it's just another use case of the building predictability creates opportunity for you to stay in the business how you want to stay in the business, but it also creates an opportunity to not be the owner operator if you don't want to be anymore. And that's what we want business owners to have, at least have a choice.
oh, and but remembering it's so hard when you are that entrepreneur, that visionary, the owner operator, to find the time to actually document and do that. For me, it is mind numbing. Like I know to do that and we can talk about it, but to get me to actually sit down and do it, I will sit here and I will procrastinate all day long. The last 5 minutes of the day, I will actually start it and try it. And I know I'm not alone. I know so many people are like that because it is not the highest and best use of our time. We despise that kind of actually doing it work to make it automated, and we need help. Right. And so that's why it's great to look at you and your team and to look at who's on your own teams that can actually help to elevate some of this stuff and start practicing to I've got a friend, Ted Miller the third. He's like, don't role play, press play, record, just like you say, record everything and then press play on it so that you can learn as a team. It's so easy to forget team turnover. Like you might not have, maybe you've got, we've got a great customer contractor down in Del Rio, and their average technician's been with them like 28 years. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is so impressive, but that's not the norm. And so many businesses, we do have employee turnover. And you think, oh, I've trained them on the process for that. We have a training binder, it's somewhere on a shelf. Like you have. But then as we turn over our teams and we grow, all of a sudden nobody knows what they're doing. And so going through the whole journey, like you said, the time rich 6, and having somebody else help with that. I think it's important, Mike, to recognize the highest and best use of your time and and be honest if you're actually not the one that can do it. Like an org chart. That an org chart is so easy. I can sit here and tell you everybody that's on the team and where they are, but to put that on paper, I've had 14 years to do it. Do you think I've done it? So finally the other day, and I've been talking about this forever, finally I went to somebody on our team. I was like, Yomi, can you just do this for me? He's like, well, yeah, I have a doctorate in HR, right? No, you don't say. It's like we have so much wealth in our own teams if we just ask for help on what we suck at
It's so
as owners,
funny.
right?
Yeah.
And managers. Like some of the things, it's just not our highest and best. And so we need teams like yours. We need people to help us to move it forward so we can have the freedom and buy back our time.
Yeah, and I love that you said org chart. It's just like a fancy way of saying like, what are all the roles in the business? And right now, an owner listening, they probably are in each of those roles in some way. So it's just like, I just do it all.
Mhm.
But we all we want to do is we just want to create departments. And this is what my coach initially did with me. I did everything. I handled every phone call. I didn't look at it as departments. I just looked at it as I did the work that needed to get done. So I would just invite a listener just to think like, if there's different departments, marketing is an easy one. So marketing, just like attracting new clients to the business, right? If anybody listening just knows, okay, attracting new clients to the business is marketing. But marketing, where marketing ends, so someone books a call, what is the next department that picks up?
Mm-hmm.
That's sales, right? So the sales department now picks up where marketing leaves off. So now we know there's a sales department. And then once the sale is made, well, the next department picks up, and that department is like client fulfillment or client support or delivery, right? And that's where like technicians usually plug in to get the work done that whatever you sold them. So just looking at just those three departments,
Mm-hmm.
marketing to sales to fulfillment or technician or delivery, those are three different departments, all having three different responsibilities that the owner is probably doing. So if we see it on an org chart to what you're saying, we could then see it as a visual, say, oh, what are all the tasks inside marketing that's under $25 an hour that I could hire someone to do? Like posting reviews on Google or like asking for Google reviews as an example, or posting photos on social media, or like creating simple like campaign emails to people. Like these are under $25 an hour tasks. And then you look at like the sales. Well,
Mm-hmm.
sending an estimate through an email or sending a proposal or creating a proposal as an example. And then it's like on the fulfillment, scheduling the appointments or reminder sequences. This is where automation comes in for like pennies on the dollar. You don't even need a team member. You delegate it to technology as an example. And this now is in the org chart, you could clearly see it's supporting team and supporting tech that's inside these different departments. And then you throw in like administrative and finance as a department, and maybe like HR or operations of like managing some of the overseeing the talent. But
Mm-hmm.
to your point, just seeing the visual of a simple organization chart will allow an owner to say, huh, I can't be at all these places at the exact same time all the time. Maybe I should find some help. And when they say maybe I could find some help, they've been burned so many times, Danielle and Natalie. They've been burned where I find help, I trust these people, and then they leave me high and dry. And now I got to go do the work again. I can't trust anyone. So now I've been burned and I have this bitter taste. So I'm just going to do it myself. I know what I would say to that person, Danielle, but what would you say to that person? I'm just curious. I know I want to kick it back to you.
Well, I did that, right? I've done it many times of, oh, I'm just going to go do it myself. And then 3 years later, when I finally rehired the position again, I was like, oh yeah, that's why that was so vital. And Layla Hermosi says it like this. She's like, when we looked at the past, 7 years of our business, and we looked at the best seasons in the business versus the worst, she says the key differentiator was the people. And after I heard her say that, I kind of went back to ours and I was like, this season was so much easier than this season. And for me, it was the seasons when I had this position had a key person in it. This position had a key person in it. And then when those people would leave, we're like, we don't need to rehire them. We'll just do it ourselves. Then there was a big gap of not so fun years. And in hindsight, I would have not allowed that gap.
And what's interesting, you might have done this. Have you ever hired just contractors to plug in? So instead of going through like the hiring process of like going through Indeed and looking for job boards trying to find the talent, you're like, screw that. To find an in-house marketing person, I'm just going to hire a contractor to just do
Yes,
this
I
for
had a
me.
conversation about this last week. I'm on the phone with somebody on the team, and I'm not going to say names. It wasn't you, but I'm on the phone with somebody, and they're like, "Well, why are you upset about so and so contract, like the contracted worker, team member?" I was like, "Because they keep doing stupid things." I was like, "I want them to live and breathe for our company. I want them to bleed for us. They don't even care about us." And I was like, they keep doing stupid things. So yes, we've definitely done that, which sometimes, don't get me wrong, we've got some fantastic contract team members that are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But the buy-in, the full part of the team can be difficult. It can be difficult to get that true buy-in where they actually are rowing in the same boat with everybody in the same direction. Now, you outsource a lot. You probably have a lot of contract team members.
We have 30 to 40 in-house team members,
They're
but we
actually
do
awesome.
but we do contract, like our web developer is contract, as an example. So like we bring him in. Um, but to your point, how do we make sure that there's a cultural alignment before we bring on a contractor to
Yes.
serve our clients?
Well, and also all the
That's a
pre-work.
piece.
It's like what we've learned too is the pre-work of onboarding them. That's something that we have failed at in the past that we learned of, you know what? They need to be onboarded kind of like a team member of, hey, here's the PowerPoint of our culture, our values. This is how we win the day. This is how we make money as a business. This is how we serve our customers. Like they need to know some of the history, the branding of the company, why we do what we do. And that makes a big difference that it's easy to think, oh, well, they're a professional, they know what they're doing, and just skip the onboarding of them. But we've found when we actually onboard them as a team member and treat them as a team member, even though they're contracted, it makes a big difference. They get to be on the team Slack channels. And then the team needs to know who they can talk to. Oh, yeah, they're contracted, but they're still on the team. So you can talk to them. That's made a difference for us.
It's huge. It's huge. You said the mission, the values, the vision. This is what it means to work with us. This is how we make money as a company. The more that's spoken about, like all the time,
Mhm.
every meeting, every single meeting,
Yeah.
those are key points that need to be made. That means if an owner is listening to this, you might ask yourself two questions. Number one, are you having meetings? Are you actually having meetings with these team members? And then number two, do you know what those KPIs, the key performance indicators or the metrics that matter most in the business? And Mike Abramowitz has a great book. My Profit First is a great one. But we want to know what are the needle movers in the business to drive profit, which is the bottom line. Obviously, top line revenue is really, really important. And it's sexy saying like, oh, I run a seven-figure business, whatever. But it's like, we also want to know how much you're keeping, how much you're taking home, because potentially, I'm not saying 100%, but potentially, if we're looking at that bottom line revenue, we can take a slice of that bottom line to buy back time by making some of these key hires. If we take the top line, we might be compromising too much. We might not be knowing what we're taking home. But if we look at the bottom line of like, all right, I'm taking home $200,000 as an example, it's like, all right, I'm going to take 50 of that for 12 months and reinvest it into a talent pool or a human or a team or contractors or whatever. And
Yeah.
for 50 grand, I'm going to see if I bought back time in my org chart for myself by having these key hires in place from doing some of those things. Or maybe it's not buying back my time. Maybe it's getting the things done that I've always wanted to have done, but I just couldn't get to them yet. Could that $50,000 investment, using a round arbitrary number, create an extra 3x in profits? What if $50,000 investment created $150,000 in extra profits while buying you back 10 hours of time every week? Now we start thinking about business from the game of business, just like a sports team. You don't
Mhm.
look at the owner who's in the box watching the coach on the field run down to the field and say, Coach, I'm going to call this play. Or even more hilarious, saying, Coach, forget about it. I'm not only calling the play, I'm going to actually be the quarterback for this play. Patrick Mahomes, take a seat. It's hilarious, but that's what these owners are doing. We bring people on and talented people to put them into roles, but then we do take their jobs from them. That's not what an owner does. That's what the owner operator does. But we want to be the owners. So therefore, we have to step back, make sure we're putting the right people in the right seats in the bus, put trust in them, have eyes in them, have weekly meetings, have them watch film using the sports example, but running it like a business. And sometimes these guys, they feel like they don't have the time for it, which is true. That's
Mhm.
why we have to reimagine it. That's why taking time, like what you do in your mastermind group with Matt Coop and bringing them in, like, hey, we're going into this facility. We're going to take ourselves out of the business. We're going to sit down and really share best practices of what happens inside the business and what happens, how we can work on the business a little bit differently, how we can reimagine things. I love that, that you do that. What FBU, is that what's called?
Mhm. Yeah, our Freedom
Yeah.
Builders University. We're going to be in Michigan this week, and yeah, it's
It's
definitely.
awesome. I mean, that's just great perspective for listeners. And if you haven't checked out Freedom Builders University, you should, because that's an example of getting out of the business to work on the business, to get it for extra insights. that's where the genius lives. But if you're turning every single wrench and part of every single one of those org chart positions, it's really difficult to get some of those insights like, what is my bottom line? Can I reinvest some of those dollars? Can I find a key hire? Can I plug them in, buy back some of my time, increase some profits? Let's explore, right? And now you could have an exploration with the business and treat it like a sports franchise. All right, that's I could talk about
But
this stuff all the time, so I appreciate it.
I'm going to pass it back to Natalie to wrap us up because I know we could talk all day long, but the business is constantly living and breathing and changing. And so it's okay to always be finessing it a little bit, right? You get your workflows in place and then let's tweak this one a little. Oh, we got a new technology we can work over here. And so I think I always did, especially when I was younger, 20 years ago, I was like, someday the business will have arrived and it's going to be perfect and I'm not going to have to touch it. But we are always still kind of finessing, and that's okay. Like even things like a strategic plan. I was like, well, how do you get something so final? And I love an advisor told me the other day, he's like, the minute you write a strategic plan, it changes tomorrow. I was like, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That gives me freedom. Like you write it down as a starting place, but things are changing and we're upgrading and we're growing, and that is okay. Mike, I know we could talk for hours. I love the value you bring. I wanted to give you a big thank you publicly on the air because I've got a great little scar on the tip of my finger, if you guys can see that there, from the most beautiful Cutco bread knife like that Mike sent me. So thank you so much. I now know not to cut my finger when I cut it, and I've sliced many sandwich thin things of bread with it. So thank you.
Nice. I'm glad you love it.
I love it.
Mike, where can people find you? What links do you have to check you out? I know I can put in the description the link to schedule a demo with you, right?
Well, he
I,
has
I
a
would,
giveaway too, I think.
Oh, you have a giveaway.
well, yeah, yeah.
GSD.
Yeah, I would love anybody who's listening, betterthanrich.com/GSD. I'll install 4 systems. I call it a 30-minute no BS call. There's a legit no BS. It's just done for you. Like I'll go into your business with you. My team, what they do is as soon as you book, you fill out some questions. They go to your website, they scrape some stuff using some of our AI tools, and we will build a brand guide with your mission, vision, values. We'll build a tone and writing style based on your company's mission, vision, values, and who your client avatar is. So that way we can build all of the lead nurturing emails based on your avatar and your tone represent your company's brand. So we'll have a 12-month lead nurture and prospect nurture campaign for your pre-existing clients and also for new prospects. If you need a system with a flow chart for your lifetime value or for your onboarding or your sales, whatever you need, I will customize it for you. You just fill out the form and our team will get to work, and then we'll show up for 30 minutes and just give it to you so you can plug it into your business. So the reason why I'm doing this is because this is market research for me. I want to know exactly what the pains and problems are for these home service business owners. And the more I can learn from you of like exactly what you need to solve for, that's really helpful for me to know. So the more of these conversations that I have, it's just helping me figure out how we can plug our team in and solve those problems, because we could only help maybe 5 business owners at a time because it's very customized when we plug our team into their business. So the more customized we get, the more specific we understand the problems and pains, the more value that we could add to the marketplace. So it really helps me. So if it would be helpful for you to have some of these systems built for you, I would love to do that because it helps me hearing about what your pains and problems are. So betterthanrich.com/GSD.
We're going to have that linked below and all his socials. And as far as the new flat rate, you can check us out at thenewflatrate.com and schedule a demo there. Other than that, thank you, Mike, for being on the show today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
If you want to learn more about the new flat rate, go to thenewflatrate.com. If you want to learn more about Better Than Rich, go to betterthanrich.com. Lastly, don't forget to check out Mike's free no BS call at betterthanrich.com/GSD.